Hey guys, welcome to Art Experiment right now. So this is not non-dominant hand drawing because I'm actually going to use my left hand today, but I'm going to do an art experiment with you, and we're just going to have some fun and mix it up. I wanted to use the Neocolor 2. Hey Anavila, I wanted to use the Neocolor 2 pastels, and we're going to draw some butterflies. And the book I'm using for reference today is the one I've been using this week, Butterflies. It's a Tash and Icons book called Butterflies, but it's actually more other flying insects too. Hey Sharon Sue, hey Yorkie Mama 19. So this book has a lot of sort of technical illustrations in it, and I'm just going to be working loosely from it. I usually don't draw from illustrations, but I think in this case it's okay. We're just sort of using it for color and I'm not using it stylistically. And also these are more technical illustrations, which helps with that. But the reason I like to use sort of technical or nature illustration in addition to photos is because sometimes when you're using a photo, you can't see all of the portions of the anatomy. So in these types of illustrations, they do show you portions of the anatomy that you want to have the details of for your artwork, but you may not be able to see in a actual photo. So that is why I'm using this. But anyway, I also really like the colors, and I picked out a palette of Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 pastels here, and I tried to, I don't think you have to do this. Like nobody has to, you can just pick your own palette and that's fine. But I wanted to just see how many colors I could find that would be similar to the butterfly that I'm going to draw today. So there are a couple butterflies in this book on this page. There's one that's kind of like cream color with green, and I love that. I think I'll save that one for another day. And I did pick out some crayons that match that, but I think we're going to go with the orangey yellow variety here. So I thought that I would use the Neocolor 2 and a couple of different types of paper to see what we could come up with. So I did some samples first just to kind of get a sense of what we're working with. And this one's on the Yupo. So I used the Neocolor 2 on Yupo. So I'm curious to see what different types of media the Yupo works well with. So Yupo is not a traditional tree paper. It's like it's cellulose or some sort of a, I don't actually know. I have to look it up. But it's not your typical paper. It's kind of like a plasticky type of paper, but it actually takes ink really well and some types of water media really well. And the Neocolor 2s are water soluble. And for today's little experiment here, I'm going to actually use some water with the Neocolor 2s. So this is what we're going to come up with. And this is sort of how it looks when you put the water on it. So I thought that we could give this a shot today. And then the other kind of paper that I have here is a hot press finish, 100% cotton, watercolor paper, fluid 100. I think this is by Art Alternatives. Let's see. Who makes it? Global Art Materials. Okay. And that's what this one looks like. So I basically did the same method. So I really, really like how the Neocolor came out on the Yupo, and I was a little surprised by that, but I really didn't expect it to come out so nicely. So I like that you can see your drawing strokes, but I also like how the water affects it. So if you can see this is where I pulled out the lights after I drew it down. So I think we should do that today. I like to have a little paper towel underneath because later on when I bring my brush in, I'm going to be dabbing. I'm going to go in with this is like a neutral dark color. It's called Dunkel Beige, beige rather. It's kind of like a raw umber, but it's kind of like a raw umber, but it's kind of gray, kind of brown, and not quite as dark as a raw umber. So I'm just working out the center of the butterfly and how the wings are going to go. So I'm drawing from the bottom butterfly here, and right now I'm just sort of making little markers for myself to see how I'm going to do this, the size of these. So I'm starting with the bottom. Did I call them leaves? I meant wings. If I said leaves, I meant wings. I started with the bottom wings because usually I'll start with the top wings, and then the top wings appear to be like too large for me later. Like I feel like the sizing is off. So I'm just sort of trying something a little different right now because I get bored really easy. So I like to mix it up. So the reason I talked about my left hand when we started is because I started doing lives because I had an accident a little over 3 weeks ago, and I fell and I sprained my left hand. And for about 2 weeks, and actually still for part of the time, it's in a splint, protecting it from, so letting it heal. And it's doing really well. So I don't have to have it in a splint all the time. And pretty soon it will be out of the splint altogether. So I'm pretty excited that it's doing so well. I can definitely draw now. I'm getting it used to doing stuff again. But, for a good 2 weeks, a good solid 2 weeks, I really didn't use it for much of anything. And it was in a splint. So now I'm just drawing the grains of the lines inside of like the grain of the design of the wings. So, and put him right there so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm just looking at the picture as I'm doing this. And I just really like the way these crayons, how the line looks on this Yupo paper. And it just glides really nicely. So I'm super happy about that. And I actually really like how the water picks up on this Yupo paper if the media is, working with it. So, and this actually works really well. So just trying to get the shape. Sometimes I have trouble with butterfly shape. But just trying to get, this is like the mid to dark, but it's not like the darkest. So later on, I can bring in a little bit darker. So just to show you, this is the one that's the Dunkel Beige color. And then this one is Raw Umber, and it's a little bit darker than the Dunkel Beige is. Here's the Dunkel Beige, and here's the Raw Umber. And then there's black too. So these two are really more of like this one's more brown than gray. This one's kind of like a mix of gray and brown. So it's a very cool brown, and it's actually sort of grayish. So I'm just gonna put those back right there. So the palette I picked out here, this color is russet, and it's somewhere between it's like a real orangey brown. So it's like a very warm brown. It's kind of a lighter a lighter tone. It's kind of like a clay. So I thought I would use that. And then this one is flame red. Yeah, that was like fire orange or something. And then for the yellow, I'm going to use the golden yellow. This one. So when I'm coloring with the grain of the line. So I don't want to color like that because that's going to smear. If I went back and forth like that, it would just smear the line everywhere. So coloring with it will keep the lines where you want them. And also what you can do is you can do like lighter stroke and then save some room inside the grains of the paper for a different color. So, but if you just press really hard from the get-go and fill up all of those grains with one kind of pigment, then you know, you can color with another color and it's probably not going to pick up, it's probably not going to fill in very well. So I'm just gonna put a little more in here. And then up here, I'm just gonna try and do some darker, closer to the center of the butterfly, and then do some lighter orange as I go out, and then I'm gonna do darker on the edge, just to follow what it looks like. So let's see, let's use this russet for the edge down here. And I'm just continuing using the strokes that are, excuse me, going with the grain of the butterfly. So that works. All right, now I'm gonna do the dots. So this butterfly has 2 little dots, and I also think I want to strengthen the darker lines, but I'm going to do that after I use my water brush. So here's kind of where the magic comes in. And I have some little pieces of paper towel that I'm going to use to pick up the pigment with. So these are handy. I just cut up some paper towel earlier. And now I'm just going to pull out the little white parts of the butterfly wings with my water brush. And I have a paper towel under here so I can just clean off my brush as I go. So you can sort of do this as light or as dark as you want. You can actually just use the brush to pick up the pigment if that's the look that you like, or you can dab it with a paper towel and pick it up that way, and then probably get a lighter white and sort of a little bit of a harder edge when you do that. Ooh, I don't know if I can draw that close. I don't know if I can have the camera that close to that close. Let's see. That, and I'll just do some of them with me picking up the pigment from my brush tip, and then other ones I will use the little paper towel piece. I kind of like the mottled look of using the brush tip only. But I also like that look too. This, when you pick it up with a paper towel, it kind of has like a burnout effect. Like, you know, t-shirt burnout, that style, it kind of looks a little bit like that. So I like that. So now I'm just going to do the line work, the line design. butterfly here so you can see. Whoop, 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 whoop. There we go, like that. So one thing I just noticed is that the butterfly, the top of the wing here, actually, they look a little bit like dots instead of just a line. And I had been doing a line, but I think what I'm going to do is just like little dots like that and see how that comes out. So that's kind of a cool look. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, let's see. Just continuing on the side. And this Yupo is cool because, like, if you accidentally get some, you can just wipe it right off, which is cool. Forgiving. I like that. I'm just following on the other wing now. And you can see this wing is sort of a different shape than that wing. And that's just my drawing. It's not the it's not the actual butterfly. That's my drawing. That's my lopsided drawing. Now we're just going to do the same thing on the bottom part of the wing and pull out the dark, pull out that pigment and dry it on my paper towel here. Hey, Puzzle 2006, there we go. Thanks for checking out my live. You know what I gotta do? I really need to name my lives when I go live, because I don't think they have a name, and then people don't know what I'm doing when they click on my live. They're like, what is this? I need to give it a name. Today's is called Art Experiments because I'm not doing non-dominant hand drawing right now, which is what I had been doing. So these are actually not exactly the shape of those, but that's okay. I'm taking creative liberties here. And also I have my camera really close to my phone, rather. My phone camera is really close to my holder, which is why I keep accidentally bouncing you, and I'm sorry about that. So now I'm really going to try an experiment. I'm going to just wet this paper a little bit, and then I'm going to draw into it with the crayon and see what happens. See if we get anything cool going on here. And if not, if I can work with this in some way down the road, if I could find a way to work with that. That's how you discover new effects, for sure. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna just color this portion a little bit over that gray color. I'm gonna color it with the orange, and then I'm gonna do some water and see if I get the same type of a effect. It should work out to be the same. This Yupo does not absorb, so it really does forgive quite a bit. depending on the media that you use. Like some media just doesn't work with it, but some does. All right, so this is the Yupo paper with Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do one now with the Fluid 100% cotton hot press finish watercolor paper and Neocolor 2. And we're going to do the pulling out the lights again too, same way. So I'm going to put that there. So let's just start. So I'm going to use the same-ish colors here. I've worked out a palette right here. There's not really a lot of camera space, so I can't really show you everything. But again, I'm just going to try and get my center down and just working from the bottom up here a little bit. If they're not exactly even, that's totally fine. Mine are pretty much never exactly even, especially somehow with butterflies and moths. I just never get it so they're even. So they're, you know, either even in the size, like the width of them, or even in the curvature of how the wings sort of go on the top. I just don't usually get those even, but that's okay. That's what makes it art. So I'm actually using a paper towel underneath here, and that's because I'm going to pull out some of the dark areas later, but I also am getting kind of a softer texture when I draw because I'm drawing on a paper towel, which is kind of nice. I didn't do that like on purpose, but I do like it. Certainly doesn't bother me. And I'm just sort of filling in the darks right now. So just sort of trying to fill in the wider areas of where there's dark pigment on the butterfly wings, and then we're going to add the detail in after. So that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to draw the grain in. Top and then bottom. And if it's not perfect, it's never going to be perfect. That's totally fine. It doesn't matter. This is your representation and my representation, so it doesn't have to be any way that you don't want it to be. It's whatever you want. So now I'm just gonna do, oh, I just did what I said I wasn't gonna do. So I'm trying to color with the grain of how I have drawn the grain of the wings here. Because if I decide that I want to color like that, it's gonna smear the lines that I've drawn. And I don't want to do that. So when I'm coloring down here, I'm coloring with the grain, and then when I color over here, I'm going to color with that grain, because these crayons are, they're pastels rather, they're water soluble and they can be smudgy, and we're going to use them like that later. But right now, I'm just trying to get the base down. So I'm just doing a little bit on the edges, and I'm going to use this russet, which is like a burnt orange, and see it's darker on the inside and on the outside. So I'm just going to add a little bit of darker in those spots, and we're just gonna do that. And then later we're gonna pull out like that. We're going to pull out the light portion, the little dots, with a water brush. So especially with this paper that does have grain in it, I am not pressing super hard right now, because I want to, I don't want to fill up all of those little grains in the paper with one pigment. I want to do a mix. So I'm not pressing too hard, because I don't want to, you know, make it so that all those little grains in the paper are completely filled up when I want to actually go in with another color like this yellow color. So still working with the grain. And I really love these Neocolors. You can do so much with them, and you can use them with so many other types of media. You can use them really with anything water soluble you can use them with. So, which is, you know, which is a lot, which is a lot. You can use them with a lot of different types of media. You can use them with acrylic, watercolor, ink. So now let's go in with the water brush, and I'm just gonna open it. I'm gonna clean it off a little bit first, just to make sure that it's clean. So now I just want to go in, and first thing I'm gonna do is just pull out some of these light dots. So you can either use a little piece of paper and dab them with a clean piece of paper, or you can go and do a little scrub, or do a little, like a big water drop, and then go back and pick up with your brush and dab off with a paper towel. You can do that. There's different ways. You could even use like a Q-tip or something to pick up. But I'm just going to use some little paper. So you can see that on the Yupo, it picks up better, and that's because this paper is not absorbent. This paper is. So, excuse me. So the properties are different, and you know, the way that the paper takes the pigment is different. And also, like, different watercolor papers are gonna like absorb or not absorb differently as well. So when I did this sample earlier, it did pick up a little bit better, but there's other things you can do as well. If it's not like picking up for you enough on the paper that you're using or with your tools that you're using to pick up, you could also use a opaque paint pen and you could draw in the detail. You could, you know, repeat the pickup process, which is what I'm doing right now, because sometimes it's nice to not go in with a paint pen and just have it look like this ghostly white, which I really, really like. That effect is really nice. So you could go in with a paint pen. You could go in with a lighter Neocolor later, a lighter pastel, and do a little bit of highlighting in there, which I might do on one of the sides of the leaves. I mean, on leaves. Why am I calling why am I calling wings leaves? Yeah, which I might go in and do that on one side a little bit later when I'm done with this. Oh gosh, it's already 1:32. You know, I've been doing a lot of experimenting lately, you guys, because I started these lives doing non-dominant hand drawing, and I like to keep them to a half an hour. And now my left hand is pretty much better. So I'm using my left hand and I'm just sort of experimenting with different content, you know? So I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants right now in terms of what I'm doing, in terms of like programming, if you will, because I'm not really 100%, because I was just doing the lives, which is awesome. And it's what I've, you know, been really enjoying doing. And I want to do some on YouTube, but I want to set a schedule, which I haven't done yet. I was thinking like 2 days here and 2 days on YouTube, but I don't really know. I might just do it all on YouTube. I'm not really sure. Or maybe do like once a week here. I'm not sure. Not really sure what I'm doing, but I'm trying to work it out. I'm almost there in terms of, you know, the technical aspects of setting up my space. I'm pretty much there. I'm not like thrilled with my lighting right now, but I have accepted the fact that the lighting is just going to have to be, you know, something that I work on as I go, because I'm not going to be able to solve that right this second. The goal is for me to have lighting above my head that is not on my desk, but that's just not going to happen right now. So anyway, so that's like what's going on with me. with these lives. So I was doing non-dominant, and then it was just like, okay, I'm good now. I'm in good shape. So this is, I'm doing the second option that I talked about, which is using another Neocolor, but a lighter color one. And I'm going into those spots that I pulled out the pigment, and I'm just drawing on top of it. I'm drawing a lighter color. So this is what I'm doing instead of going in with a paint pen, because a paint pen is much more, it's not a ghostly effect. It's going to be, you know, a very specific spot of ink. And I'm really interested in keeping this sort of softer look for the light spots in the wings. So that's what I'm doing. And I will do it on one side, and then on the other side I will leave it so you can kind of see the difference. because it is subtle, but it's really nice. I really like it. The light's pulled out with the brush and taken away, and then I added a light colored Neocolor. This is, I think it's lemon yellow, pale yellow. Okay. Sometimes I like to use, often, a lot of the time, instead of using just white or just black, I like to use a super light neutral or a super dark neutral. So that's why I'm using pale yellow instead of white, just white. So this side was done with pulling out the pigment with a pen, with a brush, a water brush, and then dabbing with a tiny bit of paper towel. And then this side was done with doing that and then following up with some of this Neocolor too. So that's what we got today. So this is on hot press watercolor paper. It's Neocolor 2 Butterfly. And then I did it on the Yupo as well. And here is the same on the Yupo, because yesterday I pulled out the Yupo and I got a little curious about it. I have some, and I haven't really ever used it super extensively, but I do like that some more watery mediums work really well on it, and you can just really experiment and find some cool effects that you can do with it. So I like how that came out. I like that sort of burnout looking effect of, you know, dabbing the Neocolor 2 with water and then pulling out the whites with a little dab of paper towel, or with just cleaning off my brush. Clean off my brush, go back, soak it back up, clean off my brush. So yeah, so thank you guys for coming today, and I hope that you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.